Rushan Abbas is a US-based Uyghur activist. Her family members have been detained in some of these camps in Xinjiang, and she will tell us the story of what's happened with her own near and dear ones. Ananth Krishnan joins us, one of India's leading experts on China. With us also on this broadcast is Colonel Vinayak Bhatt from the India Today Open Source Intelligence Desk. He's a military man, has spent his life studying satellite images and helped our team put that investigation together. Einar Tangen joins us for a perspective from Beijing. Rushan Abbas, I come to you first. Can you explain to our viewers what happened to your family members in these camps and the stories that you yourself have heard of the kind of atrocities that are perpetrated by the Chinese administration in these camps across the province of Xinjiang?
Yes, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak about this genocide of my people. My sister, Dr. Rushan Abbas, she is a retired medical doctor, is one of these victims right now being held in those concentration camps. She was abducted by the Chinese government on the 11th of September 2018 as a retaliation for my activism for speaking out about China's human rights abuses in East Turkestan, we call the symbolic name. And officially the Chinese government calls it Xinjiang, which means new territory. I talked about the conditions of the camps and the horrific abuses of the Uyghur Muslims under the current regime at one of the think tanks in Washington, D.C., in the Hudson Institute. So ever since she was abducted, we have no information on her whereabouts and for what reason she's being held. Unfortunately, my family's story is not unique. Under the communist regime, since the occupation of our homeland in 1949, the Chinese government has been using different excuses to suppress Uyghur people. Now it came down to actual genocide. Since the 9/11 in 2001, the 9/11 tragedy in the United States, Beijing has been rebranded its repressive campaign against Uyghurs as a part of a global war on terror.
Can I just step in to ask, how are you so sure that your sister has indeed been abducted and is kept by the Chinese government in one of these internment camps?
Because the Radio Free Asia has been trying to find out her whereabouts and doing investigative reporting. Finally, on early June, just about 4 or 5 weeks ago, they got confirmed that she is detained. The only place that Uyghurs disappeared to these days is those concentration camps. There are more than 3 million Uyghurs are being held in those camps right now. They are being used as slave labor to advancing China's economy, to murder more people.
What are the kind of testimonies you've heard about the nature of atrocities that are perpetrated by the Chinese government, the PLA, its representatives, its officials in these internment camps, which are called re-education camps?
There is a book being released by Dr. Michael Pillsbury, The 100-Year Marathon, and in that the Chinese Communist Party leaders quote that every place could be a battlefield in the future for China's dream to become a global domination by challenging basically Western democratic countries and systems, and the undermining any kind of rule of law. Beijing is indeed treating every single country as their own battlefield, taking extraordinary measures to target individuals and also the whole government to keep them quiet or bullying them while they are running those massive incarceration camps. According to witnesses, those concentration camps, people are subject to mental and physical torture. People are given unknown medications that they don't know what they are. we do have several female inmates came out of those camps actually testifying that they are subject to forced sterilizations. China's first concentration camp was built under the Strike Hard campaign in 2014. So it has been 6 years now. The size of the camps has grown more than 500%, 500 times last 2 months alone.
Ananth Krishnan, you've been researching and writing a lot about these Xinjiang concentration camps. Try and put them in a historical context for our viewers about the scale of the genocide that's currently being perpetrated by the Chinese government.
There was a gradual trend towards securitization of Xinjiang over the last 10 years, starting with the riots of Urumqi in 2009 and following a terror attack in Kunming railway station in 2014. So what was happening was you saw this deployment of security on an unbelievable scale everywhere in Xinjiang. And the most evident sign of that was security cameras literally everywhere. But I think the camps and the building of the camps on this big scale since 2017 was really unprecedented. No one saw it coming. And I think the numbers are staggering in terms of the number of people who've actually passed through these camps. Estimates have ranged. Even the lowest estimates put it close to 1 million. But what is really unclear now, Rahul, is what happens to these detainees. Some are being sent home, but some are being actually sent through the judicial system and being given long sentences. And I think it's pretty clear that there is no due process. And I think the worrying thing, Rahul, is through it all, I think there's been pretty much silence from the international community that's changing now because the US has its own problems with China.
Einar Tangen, this is China's mass rape program. We are hearing testimonies of physical and mental torture. Not since the Holocaust has the world seen this kind of genocide.
I'd like to point out that your first guest is a member of a group that is advocating for a separate East Turkestan, as she refers to it. I don't know that everything she says is quite believable. Atul is a very, very well-informed individual. I know that he researches things. I don't know that he was able to actually go to these places that people keep calling camps. But, I mean, these estimates I find a little bit odd. Today we've heard 1 million to 3 million. At this point, we don't know. I don't know. I've been to Xinjiang a number of times. They never took me to a place and said, this is the place where they're going to have an re-education program. I do know that there's only, if you took 3 million people away from the general population, it would have a massive impact on the amount of produce and everything that is grown in Xinjiang and shipped throughout China, and that is not true. I also find it hard to believe because last year alone there was 200 million Chinese tourists who were roaming around Xinjiang. Certainly would have noticed if there were some camps that they had seen. So I read this with a high degree of skepticism.
Colonel Bhatt, the report that you helped put together, how strong is the evidence you believe? Because the satellite maps, while they show how the area that these camps encompass has increased, don't really capture any video evidence of torture.
Rahul, it is very sad that Beijing is denying everything. I really feel the pain of the lady who spoke first, because I am seeing the satellite imagery and you can really make out what exactly the Chinese are doing there. But first things first, today morning, the East Turkestan Government in Exile and East Turkestan National Awakening Movement have filed a petition to the International Criminal Court at Hague, which against the atrocities of the Chinese in this region. Well, the evidence is extremely clear. They must be presenting the evidence that we have presented today on India Today TV. The evidence is so clear that after 2013, when Xi Jinping took over the reins of China, the things have started moving. The concentration camps have proliferated, but they grow exponentially. Only after August 2016, when Tan Chuan-ko took over the reins of Xinjiang.
Rushan Abbas, while there's been a lot of reportage in the international press around this, the likes of Einar Tangen say, you come from a separatist movement, you want independence for East Turkestan, and therefore this is part of a political charge that's flung Beijing's way. He's denying, in a sense, that atrocities of this scale are being carried out. He says, I've been to Xinjiang, I haven't seen any of these camps.
Yes, I'm not surprised at all, because the Chinese regime is bribing and leveraging some of the scholars and key politicians, decision makers, media, and some influential people around the world, important businessmen around the world. Well, he says he's in Beijing. So with that, I'm not surprised at all, because China not only has successfully silenced international criticism of its shameful human rights record, but also now asking them to speak in their defense. That's why I'm not surprised at all. You know, right now, and also when you look at with the Chinese government's Belt and Road Initiative, which is the main reason why those concentration camps are set up, and also the trade threats to different countries using the trade, China is trying to buy sides of those countries.
Okay, Einar Tangen, respond to what you're hearing from Ananth, from Rushan, and from Colonel Bhatt. Allow India Today to come in. Let's find out what's happening in these camps. You and I can go together.
I would welcome that. I have no problem with that. I think a little bit of sunlight is always good. And I think it would dispel a lot of these notions out there that these places are being set up. I don't know what the point of torturing people would be, since that only hardens them. They would come out of such an experience even more radicalized than they went in. And I agree. If people have been swept up and put into the re-education camps who shouldn't be there, somebody should be held accountable. I think that's reasonable. But, you know, you have to understand that the Chinese ends is not to make more problems for themselves. They're immensely practical people. What they want to do is to make sure that a large group of people who are uneducated, do not speak Chinese, would have equal access to society. Because without being able to speak Chinese, without an education, other than going to the local, Imran once a week, you would not be able to get a job. You were basically destined only to be stuck on a farm somewhere, because that's all you could possibly do, or be a cook. If China had continued that policy, they would be accused of creating an apartheid state, basically 2 levels. So they're going to be blamed either way, but I think it's better that they're trying to get people educated and get them to the point where they can support themselves, where they have a future.
Rushan.
Please allow me to say something here.
Go on, Rushan.
Okay, this man is repeating what the Hitler did during the World War II, stigmatizing the Jewish culture. And while I'm talking about hundreds and thousands of university professors, medical doctors, famous actors, actresses, complete the lie that he's talking about. Chinese ambassador to United States, he told the CNN reporters that they are trying to make Uyghurs normal people. Basically, in their eyes, the Uyghurs having their own language, having their ethnic differences, cultural differences, and their religion, they are being treated, they are being viewed as abnormal people. So basically, China's waging war on Islam. That's why those concentration camps are there.
Colonel Bhatt, final words. As of now, China is saying we would not do this because each person who comes out would end up more radicalized than when they went in.
Well, actually, that is what is happening today. The families are broken. They're getting signatures from them, and forced confessions are being shown to the world that they are going on their own to these re-education camps. What kind of re-education are you going to give to a person who is 50 years old and educated? That is political indoctrination, nothing else.
Einar Tangen on this show has said sunlight is a good thing. It absolutely is. You can take Ananth Krishnan, you can take anybody else. Let's take a bunch of journalists to these camps. You can join us, Einar Tangen. Then we'll really see what's going on in these concentration camps. You're smiling and laughing, which means you weren't serious about the offer.
I'm laughing because I don't set policy for the Chinese government. I'm an American. And I have been to Xinjiang. I'm surprised that Ananth is saying that there's been no attention. I've seen specials on CCTV, CGTN, all about these camps. People might say
about it. You know what?
political.
But the fact is that, excuse me, you're interrupting me.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
The issue is that, if the Chinese government has acknowledged this from the very get-go, but they see it differently. You say it's a concentration camp, they say it's re-education. You say torture, they say learning.
Look at this picture. This is my sister. Can you see? This is my sister's picture. And those CCTV and the global network you just mentioned, shamelessly accusing me for stealing other people's pictures and saying that those are my missing relatives. I am carrying her picture. There is no need of stealing anybody's picture. And those CCTVs and the Chinese media are accusing me for lying about my missing relatives. And where is my sister? Where is my 57 years old retired medical doctor? Where is my sister? She has 2 daughters in the United States. She has 3 granddaughters that she has not been communicated for past 22 months. There are about 1 million Uyghurs in diaspora. Every one of us are missing relatives at home, relatives from back home. My husband's entire family is missing from Bhutan. You speak to any Uyghurs in diaspora, they are missing. At least 1 or 10 relatives are missing. Where are they? When did you go to China? I am ashamed you being an American, because you are speaking China's fabrications and false narratives. Americans speak the truth. Americans don't sell their soul for Chinese money. That's what kind of Uyghur American I am.
Yeah. Well, good luck with your separation policy.
Okay, if you're in Beijing, please ask your friends in CCP. Ask them, where's my sister? Her name is Dr. Rushan Abbas. Find out where my sister is, then let's talk again.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll track this story very, very closely. Rushan Abbas, we thank you very much for having come on our network, shared your story. Now, your sister's story is something that every single person who's watched this broadcast will track as well. Colonel Bhatt, for having put this story together for India Today, thank you. Thanks, Ananth, for joining us with your valuable perspective. And Einar Tangen, as always, for coming and giving us a voice from Beijing. Appreciate your presence. We're slipping into a break. We'll have more for you on the other side. Stay with us.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kanwal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.